Hi ladies, how are you? Thank you so much for coming. We started last week talking about, how important it is to respect one another, and I would like to continue in this subject. I will start with a story, very strong, but I give this a story as an example, and then we'll go to the other example that we have in the Gemara, and we'll try to put it together. This story, it's a true story, happened not a long time ago in Israel. There was this Rebbe that used to teach in school, younger grades, and he was a very good one, everybody liked him. And one day a woman calls him, crying, asking him if he could teach her son. Her son is an 8-year-old boy, doesn't know how to read yet. And she heard that he's a good teacher, maybe he could, teach him. He said, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm busy. The whole morning I spend teaching, the whole afternoon I have to be with my kids, nighttime I have to learn myself, I have to elevate myself, I have to learn, I can't, I don't have the time, and I can't. And she's asking him and begging him and crying to him, and he says, I'm sorry, I can't. Eventually she told him something like, Lo ta'amod al dam ra'acha, which is a pasuk that says, don't stand aside when your fellow blood is shed. Not like that. It's a very, very strong sentence. And he said, I'm sorry, I can't. Okay. Some time passed. He became a rabbi in a bigger yeshiva now, higher grades. It's like a high school, and a very known one, And so he had this student by the name David. And David was a good student, quiet one, and he asked to go to a different yeshiva. He had to go to a different yeshiva. The rabbi didn't really like the yeshiva that he went to, because the Rosh Yeshiva over there was not, he didn't consider him so religious or something. He didn't really like it, but he went. About 8 months later, he comes to the yeshiva, and he wanted to invite him to his wedding. He says that he's getting married. The rabbi saw him. He looked different. He looked more modern now. His kippah was not a black kippah like he used to be. His kippah became kind of lightish color and different, style of material. In Israel, they pay attention to all these things. And when he came to invite the rabbi to his wedding, the rabbi is, how dare you come here to the yeshiva this way? And he felt not welcomed coming to the yeshiva after a long time. He said politely, I just wanted to invite the rabbi and my friends to my wedding. And the rabbi looks that, he speaks in a mannered way, but to him it looked like he doesn't care. To him it looks like he's talking in a chutzpah way. And he's like, how dare you come to the yeshiva this way? And he started to speak not nicely to him. And the boy, David, felt so bad. He felt so hurt. He felt humiliated. He became pale, and he just ran away. He couldn't stand there. He went home. A month later, the wife of this rabbi became sick. She had a cancer. And quickly, emergency, they had to take him overseas to operate her head, and it was a very complicated operation and everything. He had to be away from the yeshiva for a while. Once he came back, she didn't survive. After 6 months, she died. From a very, good, independent a man, happy person, whatever, he became, in very, very short time, he became sad, he became depressed, he became dependent on his children, because he was all alone. He refused to go and live with his children, but so he stayed at home, and sometime later he fell, and he broke his pelvis. and that's it. He had to be operated. He had to be in a rehabilitation center. He had everything became so bad in a very, very short time, and he didn't like the idea that his students are going to come and visit him because it's embarrassing. So he didn't want any guests, just family would come and feed him and help him out a bit, he continued teaching in yeshiva, but his teaching was, there was no livelihood in there. He didn't put all, he was a sad man now. He wasn't himself. And so after a while he saw that he cannot do it. He quit his job. He he hired this caregiver to come and help him at home. And basically he lost meaning to his life. David came to visit him after a while. And a student comes, so yeah, he shared with him all his troubles, all whatever he went through, all the problems. And the student is, I'm sorry, baby, I didn't really know that you're sick. I didn't know you're in such a grave situation. When did this all happen? I mean, I saw you recently, everything looked okay. He said, Zayin Ba'adar, everything started. Zayin Ba'adar? He felt so bad, this boy, David. Zayin Ba'adar was the day of the wedding. And he said, I went to my wedding upset, hurt. And I kept praying, Hashem, please pay this rabbi for all the bad things that he did to me.
Ouch.
And he comes, and now he sees the rabbi in this kind of a situation. He tells him, I'm sorry, Rabbi, but now that I see you this way, so the rabbi is asking why you were so upset at me. He didn't even know that he made the wrong thing. He said, when I came to the yeshiva to invite you to my wedding, you were screaming at me. So the rabbi remembered. He said, of course, how dare you came to the yeshiva this way? He said, what did I do? What is the meaning of this kippah that you were wearing? He said, my kippah? Then I remembered. I was driving in a cab. Oh, I took a car service to the yeshiva. The driver, okay, he smoked. He opened the windows. My kippah flew away. I went to chase after my kippah until I found it. So many cars ran over it. It became white. It wasn't black anymore. So I put it this way, and it looked different. It looked, well, what can I do? I came to this way to the yeshiva, and instead of welcoming me and everything, I got screamed and humiliated, and I felt very hurt. On top of this, but I'm sorry, Rabbi, I really didn't know that you're sick. So he said, so why did you come? He said, well, my mother came to my dream, and she told me that I should come to you and tell you that she forgives you. He said, your mother? And also my brother, he forgives you. He said, what are you talking about? He said, I have a brother that until he was 8, he didn't know how to read and write. And my mom asked you to help out, and you refused. And because of this, she had to put him in a different school for disability kids that don't know. And over there, I guess he met all kind of friends that were not so religious, and he went down the way and he became off the derech, and he's not religious anymore. And this is the reason that I've suffered, because I got all kind of offers, for shidduchim, not such good offers, because everyone knew that I have a brother that went off the derech, and I didn't get good shidduchim. Then after a while, I got this proposal I got this nice girl, good solid family, and I was so happy. I came to the yeshiva, I wanted to share my simcha with my friends, and you started screaming at me and humiliated me, but now we forgive. My mother, my brother, and me will forgive. This is when the rabbi understood, okay, what was the darkness that he caused this family and why he is in darkness too. It's amazing to see that in 2 days his back pain disappeared, this disappeared, that disappeared. Okay, he wasn't 100% okay, of course, afterwards, but this is when people feel hurt, this is what happens. This is a story of our days. Let's go and talk about something that's called Onaat Devarim. Onaat Devarim is when people insult other people, sometimes don't realize that they insult people. But here are these days that we mourn for the 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva that passed away because they didn't respect each other in the right way. It says that when Rabbi Akiva was warned that he'll have so many students and they won't respect each other, he was warned, and I'll soon explain. And when he saw that there's jealousy between them, it says in the Gemara they had 12,000 pairs of students, not 24,000 students. He himself, Rabbi Akiva, he paired these students. A bigger one in Torah, one is a smaller one in Torah, one that can teach each other, one can learn from each other. He did it in such a way, he paired them, so they won't make this mistake. They won't have jealousy and hatred in between them, and didn't really help. But it says, Al tanu ish et achiv in Parshat Behar, okay? Don't deceive your brothers. And few psukim afterwards it says, Lo tanu ish et amito, ve'yaret et Hashem Elokecha. Okay? Lo tanu over here speaks about Onaat Devarim. It's not deceive in cheating money or something. It speaks about insulting. Ve'yaret, here it adds, ve'yaret, you should fear Hashem. Okay? And I want to speak to you today about a very, very strong example that when we speak about Onaat Devarim, the biggest example that there is in the Gemara is this example. Onaat Devarim, by the way, let's explain a little bit what it is Onaat Devarim. They give examples. What is Onaat Devarim? For example, if somebody, let's say, became religious, don't remind him of his old sins, what he used to do. If he used to go to this and this restaurant, if he used to go hang out with this and these girls or boys or, nightclubs or whatever, don't remind him because he's embarrassed as is. And you go and remind him these things, it's not nice. If he is a son of converted Jews, okay, so don't remind him. You remember what your mother used to do, what your father, what your brothers used to do. It's not nice. If he is a converted Jew that knows how to learn Torah, don't tell him a mouth that ate nevelot, all kind of non-kosher food. You ate insects. You ate all kind of. You're going to study Torah that was given to us by the, or. If somebody went through troubles, difficulties, disease, lo aleinu, right? Like Eov went through a lot of troubles. So Eov, it says that he used to complain to Hashem. That's not fair. He says, don't be like the friends of Eov that used to tell him, you deserve it. It's because of you. Why are you complaining all the day long? And don't say these things. As is, it's hard for him. So this is called Ona'ah. Some people, they don't realize when they go shopping around, they go to a certain store, they want to buy, let's say, clothing or shoes. They try this pair, they try that pair, and let's say you're not intending to buy anything over there. To the seller, it looks like you want to come and buy something. He's hoping, he's anticipating, maybe I'll make a profit here, maybe I'll do some money, maybe I'll bring some money to the house today. And when you tell him, okay, it's okay, I don't like it, and you go, and you didn't intend to buy it all, this is called another. Today people, they order through the internet, online. And let's say you want a certain size, and you don't know if this company is your size, this size 8 that you're wearing, size 6, size 10 that you're wearing, if it's your size or not, you go to the store and you try all kind of shoes on, and and if you're not intending to buy there because online it's so much cheaper anyway, it's called Onaat Devarim. Bigger stores, bigger department stores that there's so many people and they don't care if you're coming or not. There's not a problem over there. We're speaking about, boutiques, small stores, Jewish stores that, So, also here, all kind of dinim, halachot in Onaat Devarim. I don't want to get into there. And Rabbi Eliezer Omer, from the day that the Holy Temple was destroyed, Nin'alu sha'arei tefillah. The gates of tefillah, of prayers, are locked. Ach sha'arei dma'ot lo nin'alu. The gates of tears, are open. So if somebody cries from pain, it's the example of the story that I told you in the beginning. Somebody cries from pain, Hashem listens and punishes the person who caused him pain. אמר רב חסדא, כל השערים ננעלו חוץ משערי הונאה. So, when it speaks about Onaat Devarim in the Gemara, they give a big example of there that's called Tanuro shel Achnai. Tanuro shel Achnai is an oven that the rabbis were debating, if this oven is made from clay. Okay? Usually clay you cannot fix. You cannot make it kosher once it became contaminated. The question is, are you allowed, by separating it to pieces, are you allowed to make it kosher again or not? It's a whole big question. The rabbis debating this and that. Rabbi Eliezer said, once this oven was was assembled all together, it depends if it has sand in between, and because it's made from links, all kind of links of clay and whatever. It depends how it's done. He says it's kosher. The rabbi said no, it's not kosher. And the rabbis were debating with this. So rabbis debate on all kind of all our Gemara is debating of rabbis. It's not a problem. The problem is how they dealt with this, how they behaved while or during this dispute, this argument, these disagreements that they had in between themselves. So Rabbi Eliezer keeps telling them that it's kosher, and he gives them all kind of proofs that it's kosher. He does all kind of miracles. He says there's a tree outside the Bet Midrash, okay? Carob tree. If I'm right, the carob tree will move from where it is. Okay, it's going to get up from the place that it is. It's going to walk, I don't know how many yards, and move. And that's what happened. The rabbi said, we don't care about this.
Stop, no?
It stopped?
No, it's not.
So, and then, why did he give this example of the carob tree? So they say carob tree is, who eats carob? Talmidei Chachamim, usually they're satisfied with whatever they have. Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, for example, was this rabbi that used to eat a little bit carob from one Erev Shabbat to the other. During the week, he didn't eat so much. Really, nothing. He says, in order for, let's say you plant a carob, in order for a carob tree to give fruits, it takes 70 years. Mm-hmm. Rabbi Eliezer says, I learned so much Torah. I have so much knowledge. I lean on my rabbis. I'm telling you, I am strong like a carob tree, and I don't really use so much, and this is why they say that he mentioned this carob. Okay. The rabbi said we don't care about this miracle. He says, Amata maim tochiach. We have a spring of water out there. A spring of water usually goes from up to down. It went the opposite. From down, up it went. A miracle. It's against the nature, they care. The rabbi said, we don't care about this. What does water represent? The minimum thing that people need is some water and some carrot, food, and a place to study. So these are the things that he mentions. He mentions water, he mentions carrot tree, and he mentions the Kotlei Bet HaMidrash, the place where you're supposed to study. Water represents also anava, humility, because it goes from high place, go to down, okay? And basically he says to the other rabbis, I am humble person. And the way that this water changed, amen, changed its nature, so you, the rabbis, you have to change your way of looking, because I'm right. They didn't accept it. The third thing he says, Kotlei Bet HaMikdash. Kotlei Bet HaMikdash represent a tradition. I'm sitting here year after year. I'm depending on all my rabbis. I'm not saying things on my own. And Kotlei Bet HaMikdash yochichu, and they started to bend towards the people. This is when Rabbi Yehoshua, the one that opposite him, he says, you don't interfere in our argument. And now these walls of the Bet HaMikdash wanted to go back because of the honor of Rabbi Yehoshua. I didn't know what to do, to listen to Rabbi Yehoshua, and they said that this walls stayed kind of bent all this time. Anyway, the rabbi says we don't care about these miracles. Eventually, Rabbi Eliezer ben Orkanus said, okay, so from heaven they will prove that I'm right. And a voice came from heaven and said, Rabbi Eliezer is right. Whatever he says, it's right. Rabbi says we don't care even if a voice comes from heaven, because once we got the Torah, Lo b'shamayim hi. We do the psak over here on earth, and Hashem listens to what we say here on earth. He cannot tell us from heaven what to do. Lo b'shamayim hi. It's over here that we decide. And in the Torah it says, Acharei rabim le'atot. You have to, majority wins. All the rabbis say that you're wrong, you have to listen to us. Rabbi Yehoshua said, Rabbi Eliezer ben Orkanus said, but I'm right. You see that even from heaven they agree with me. I'm right. And they didn't agree with him. So at that point, when they saw that they disagree, the rabbi decided to put him in cherem, or nidui. Cherem means, or nidui, that you cannot sit with him, you cannot pray with him. Basically, banishment, not to communicate,
Excommunication.
right? And boycott him, nothing to do with one another. Now, then they took all the food that he told to people that it's okay, that it's kosher. They took all the taharot that he said that they're kosher. They make a whole big bonfire next to his house, and they burned all these things. They said, we don't accept your ruling anymore, and we cannot sit together, we cannot do anything together. That's a very, very strong thing, very, very strong thing. Now they wanted to send somebody to him to tell him that he is in cherem now, or in nidui. Rabbi Akiva, what was the greatest Talmid of Rabbi Eliezer ben Orkanus, said, I will go, because if you will send somebody that's not entitled, he could insult him even more, and I don't want this to happen, I'll go. He was wearing black, and he went and he sat far away from him as he comes to his house, and he says, I think your friends, they boycott you. Rabbi Eliezer started crying. He says, why? But from heaven they accept me. They say that I'm right. He says the rabbis do not agree. And it stayed like that. They couldn't really communicate anymore with one another. It says that the day that Rabbi Akiva came and told him that they boycott him, there was a very, very strong anger, okay, on earth from heaven. Meaning, Hashem, he liked the idea that the rabbis, in a way, won him. it says, Nitzchuni banai, I'm happy. The fact that even though they saw all the miracles, but once they have a ruling, Achrei Rabim La'atot, they were persistent with that. And they didn't care about what Rabbi Eliezer said. But the way it was done, this was hurting. So it says that Kol Makom Shanatan Bo Rabbi Eliezer L'Einav, wherever he looked, got burned. And at that moment, Rabbi Gamliel, which was Nasi Shevet Israel, he was the president, was the highest man, strongest authority. He was going in a ship in the middle of the sea. And that moment, a big, huge wave came to drown him. And Rabbi Gamliel knew exactly why. And he says, probably it's because Rabbi Eliezer is upset at me. He turns to heaven and he says, Hashem, you know that I didn't do it for my own honor, and I didn't do it for the honor of my parents or my family. I did it for your honor. So when he said that, the sea became quiet again. He didn't die at that moment. Okay. I continue. The Gemara said. The Gemara continues in saying that Rabbi Eliezer's wife, her name was Ima Shalom. Ima Shalom was a sister of Rabban Gamliel. And she was afraid that if Rabbi Eliezer is going to concentrate and think about the aggravation, about the insult of the rabbis towards him, he's going to kill her brother by his prayings. So she didn't let him do Nefilat Apayim, which is Tachanun. When they say we do it after the prayer, she didn't let him do it. Now, he didn't pray with people in Minyan because it's not allowed, but he heard the synagogue next to his house. Whenever they used to do Nefilat Apayim, she used to come and distract him. She used to talk to him, she used to bother him, so he won't pay attention to what happens. This is how it went on and on. One day she made a mistake. There was a Rosh Chodesh. She thought 2 days Rosh Chodesh, and it wasn't Rosh Chodesh. She made a mistake in a calculation, and she didn't come downstairs to distract him. And when he hears in the shul that they do it, he also, this prayer is a time of, they ask for mercy for Am Yisrael. And he's asking, but he's also upset at the rabbis and at Rabbi Gamliel that he was supposed to approve this cherem, this nidui. And yes, they said that the Rabban Gamliel at that moment died because he was so hurt. So when she heard that in the shul they do Nefilat Apayim, they do Tachanun, came quickly downstairs and she saw that he's already doing it. He says, "Oy vey, my brother is dead."
Oh, wow.
He said, "How do you know?" She says, "Kach mekublani מבית אבי אבא." I know that. Who says? כך מקובלני מבית אבי אבא. They are dynasty of Hillel, dynasty of King David. חזקיהו, if you remember, said the same thing. כך ששערי דמעות ננעלו. I'm sorry. She said that כל השערים ננעלו once, all the gates are locked except the gates of דמעות, the gates of tears. שערי הונאה. So the big question is, Rabbi Eliezer, he was a big rabbi. He didn't understand, he didn't know this law of Achrei Rabim La'atot, majority wins. He knew this law. But when he saw, and this is the biggest thing here, this is said in the Yerushalmi, when he saw that they do it in such a way that they want to upset him, when they took and did this bonfire in front of his house, if a rabbi made a mistake, you go and tell it to everyone, you don't do this kind of thing. You tell other people, go and this day, to this and this place, we're going to take care of this, and that's it. They did it in front of him to aggravate him, okay, to upset him, to make him, not to disrespect him, and this is when Rabbi Akiva became very upset. So, I'm sorry, Rabbi Eliezer. And so Rabbi Eliezer said, Achrei Rabim La'atot, yes, but who is this Rabim? I don't think that Hashem likes this Rabim, this gathering of rabbis when they do it against somebody, against his feelings. So, this is when it says that it says So I want to stop here for a second. I just want to tell you what type of a person was Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokens, how careful he was with Ben Adam Lechavero. It says, halacha, that in those days they used to have servants at home. So if you have a non-Jewish servant, and let's say he died, you don't accept condolences. It's not like a Jewish man that you have to see it and you accept the condolences. Except in the Gemara, there was one exception. There was this servant of Rabban Gamliel, that his name was Tabi. Tabi was Talmid Chacham. He knew stuff, even though he wasn't Jewish, but he learned so much. He was in the house of Rabbi Gamliel so much. He learned. He knew laws of Sukkot. He knew laws of whatever laws he knew. So when he died, Rabban Gamliel, he accepted condolences. The rabbi, the Talmidim came and call for the call of Shiva, and then the servant, the female servant of Rabbi Eliezer, passed away too. The rabbis are coming. They say maybe she's also so important, like this Tabi. They come to to give comforts to him, whatever. The rabbi is running away from them. They're in the living room, he goes from the living to the attic. They're in the attic, he goes from the attic to the kitchen. And then he tells them, you don't understand that I don't want to talk to you? So the rabbis, the students are, why not? Kilo, what's the problem? He said, and he didn't want them to understand. You know, Tabi, he was a special servant. He was kosher. This is what Rabbi Gamliel said. He didn't want to tell them that this female servant that he had was not kosher. He didn't want to take it out of his mouth that she is not kosher. He was running away, not to get into conversation with them. This is how careful was Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokens. So they don't come and they don't study from him. And he knew so much knowledge that it was such a waste to us, the Jewish people, that we didn't get all this Torah from him. It says that when he was about to pass away, Rabbi Eliezer ben Hokens, his students came to visit him. He said, how come you came to visit me? They said, we didn't have time. You didn't have time? They were not allowed to go, basically, because he was a nidui, right? Aval, they say, we didn't have the time. It wasn't an easy thing. He says, Tmehani yamutu. I don't think they will die in a natural way. That's basically what he told them. But he picked up his arms and he says, I knew so much and I'm so sorry that I couldn't teach it to you, And so last week I mentioned this Mishnah, this Gemara. They came to visit him and he asked them, please teach us ways of life. How can we reach to Olam Haba? How can we get there? He told them, Hizaru bikvod chavachem. Be careful with the respect, with the dignity of your fellow friends. And he continued, whatever. And he said, he knew that his best student, Rabbi Akiva, his 24,000 students are going to die. And he tells him, you have to be careful because I know what's going to happen to your students. And this is the tviyah. This is the
Judgment.
This is the judgment that was towards the Rabbi Akiva and his students. Rabbi Akiva knew that they are not careful with one another. And he had to be more careful, and whatever he did didn't really help. And so his students died. This is Rabbi Akiva that keeps telling V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. He keeps telling them, be careful. All his students died. And he had to start it all over with his another 5 or 7 students. And he told them, be careful, you don't be like them. Because the most important thing is how we conduct with one another. So, Rabbi, so this is the story and this is the example that it says in the Gemara. I want to tell you how important it is to care for one another. There was this big Tana by the name of Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair. Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, some say was the son-in-law of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, but most people say he was the father-in-law of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Once he was about to pass a river, and the river was full of water, high tide and everything. And as it comes to the river, it says, "River, river, split up for me." And the river split up for him, and he went through. And the one that was escorting him, or some other people, a company that went with him, say, "Hey, what about us?" So the rabbi said to the Nahar Ginai, to this river, "Open for them too." And it opens for them too. Some say, in a different place in the Gemara, that it was his students that were in the back. And the students are asking, "Rabbi, please, we need to pass this river also." And the rabbi, he asked them this question. He asked them, if you never embarrassed a person in your life, and if you never disrespect, okay, your fellow Jews, your other people, and you never hurt other people, this is when you can create this miracle yourself, and this river is going to split and open it for you. Again, if you never embarrassed, or never disrespected, or never hurt anybody else. See how important it is.
If they deserved it.
Huh?
If they deserved it.
Yeah.
In any case.
In any case.
No excuse.
It's not up to you to decide.
So today we have something stronger than this. Today there's Facebook, and there is a phenomenon, a very dangerous one, that's called shaming. When people, I don't know exactly how it works in Facebook, but I guess people post all kind of things over there, and some people can embarrass people, all kind of pictures that they put, or maybe a video that they catch of these people, and they put it, and it embarrasses these people. Many times we heard that young girls were so embarrassed of all kind of pictures, and for young girls it's very important how they look, how people look at them, and so on, and they do afterwards, God forbid, they go and